Hello, this is my majorly overdue review of John Green's The Fault in Our Stars. This is my friend's copy of the book. It's the hardback. I myself now have my own paperback copy, but my friend lent me this one a little while back because at the time I did not have my own, and also this has a J. Green and a very happy looking Yeti giving you a thumbs up. So that's adorable. And I know she was my friend was very happy when she discovered hers had been yetified as well. I've been putting off, you might have noticed, I've been putting off doing this review because I'm still slightly unsure as to what I want to say really, and I know that certain things that I probably will say in this rambling excuse for a review will probably upset people. It feels as though John Green's books are in a way untouchable. You can't, I feel at least, this huge weight of pressure on me, and that I don't know how I'm going to be honest about my feelings, especially towards this book in particular, because it's the most recent one, and it's the one that tons of nerdfighters have an incredibly emotional connection to, although nerdfighters tend to have a very emotional connection to John Green's works anyway. But we kind of saw this one evolve. We know, at least in part, what the inspiration was. We know about Esther Earl and about her death, and so we all kind of, as a community, lived through that, so it's difficult to separate, I guess, the emotions that so many people attach to this book and its creation and, you know, its just its being, and look at it critically, or just, you know, look at it and then ascertain how you felt about it without all of that bias. And so I'm just really wary about pissing people off or insulting anybody or coming across as insensitive or rude or whatnot, so I guess a disclaimer will be that if I say anything insensitive, I truly don't mean to. I'm no stranger to cancer. I've had several cancer scares myself. My mum has. My nan has had breast cancer. She's had a breast removed. And my dad's parents, my other two grandparents, both passed away of cancer. And I've known plenty of young people also who have had cancer and have passed away. We have a friend right now. He's 18 and he's got a very severe form of cancer, and there's nothing they can do. And there was a girl at my school who was several years below me, and she had cancer for 3 years before she passed away at age 15, and that was incredibly upsetting to witness. So I don't, if people think, if at some point I say something and you think, oh, that's insanely insensitive, you bitch, Renee, then I just wanted to let you know it's not purposeful. I don't mean to sound horrible. Also, I myself, this isn't in the same vein. It's always difficult to make. This isn't meant to be a comparison, but I myself suffer from a great many illnesses, and they do strongly impact my life. They're not terminal, as cancer is, but they're chronic, which means they're prolonged, they're lifelong. So they suck ass, but of course, cancer is its own form of suck ass. It's in its own league. Anyway, so all that aside, I was actually nervous about reading the book because I was so scared about how I'd feel and what if I feel differently from everybody else and I can't sing its praises and stuff. I did enjoy the book. Enjoy seems like a strange word to use in the context of what this is about, but I appreciated it, and I knew I would, because John Green is a wordsmith and he crafts prose beautifully. And of course there's like just beautiful descriptions and reflections and whatnot throughout this book, as you know there will be because it's his work. And especially given the subject matter, it goes very deep. One thing about, I know this actually pisses John Green off a lot himself, when people criticise his books for having very intelligent teenagers as their protagonists and their characters. And for me, it is something that grates on my nerves, and yet I like it. I have a love-hate relationship with it, because so much of what Hazel and Augustus, and even to an extent Isaac, say, but especially Hazel in her narration, so much of it seems very unrealistic to me, to my mind at least, for what a teenager would say. Even a very intelligent, well-read teenager. I was at high school with the smart kids as my friends, and we never talked like this. I wish we did, I really do. But yeah, sadly we did not. I like to think we said some relatively sensible, intelligent things from time to time, but nothing like this. And in the end I had to just make my peace with it and accept that I could view it in the same way I view, like, the dialogue, for example, on the TV show Gilmore Girls, in that I know that people don't actually talk that way, but wouldn't it be awesome if they did, and it's still very entertaining, and it still has the same meaning behind it, and it's still genuine, and, you know, there's still that essence of truth to it, even if the words and how they come about don't seem all that realistic or day-to-day. So I think I've come to peace with that. But I mean, it's still very entertaining and beautiful to read, and yeah, I mean, that made Hazel a likable protagonist in that sense. Like, aside from the automatic empathy and sympathy you feel for her given her condition, yeah, the fact that she thinks deeply and she thinks in this way and she takes these moments to pause and reflect on stuff was really lovely to encounter. Her relationship with Augustus, I did like it for the most part, and I liked that it was slow in building, and I liked that they were mates, and there was that sense of mateship between them too, and the fact that it was kind of a trio with the three of them with Isaac. And I have a thing about supporting characters. I always just really like supporting characters, so Isaac was one of my favourites. I really liked him, and of course my heart was breaking for him at times. Something else, this isn't really a review, is it? But anyway, it's kind of just a conversation. And one thing I have to say though, and this is, okay, when I sound like I'm criticising stuff in this book, I'm not. I'm just chatting to you, okay? It's difficult for me sometimes when characters in a novel, especially the narrator, have a snarky, sarcastic, very, very clever sense of humour. Primarily because that isn't me. That's not how I function, that's not how my brain works, and yeah, I'm just not like that. I have friends who are, and often when I'm around those friends I feel quite intimidated and a little bit insecure because they can say things that can come across as hurtful because I'm so friggin' sensitive, and I am. I'm overly sensitive. And I'm too serious, I take things very seriously, so my friends, without ever meaning harm, can inadvertently cause that because they have that kind of wit about them. And all three, Hazel, Augustus and Isaac, had that sense of humour. And especially Hazel, since she's narrating and we're in her head all the time, I often felt that if I knew this, if this character was to become a three-dimensional being and sit beside me, she would hate me. And I just kept thinking throughout the book, oh gosh, if I was in her support group, I'd be one of the people she was sort of like inwardly laughing at a little bit. And I don't mean to make her sound judgmental, she's just human, that's what people do. Especially in that situation you would, it's like inevitable, really. And I don't think she means any ill will by it, but that was something that I think impinged on my connecting with Hazel as a character, simply that it was always the voice in the back of my head saying, oh, Hazel would hate me, she would be ripping the shit out of me in her mind. So that kind of created a barrier, I suppose. And if it helps, I feel the same way about Stephen Fry. I adore the man, and of course he's brilliant, but I always think to myself, if he met me, he would rip me to shreds. So yeah, it was just it created a mental block in my connecting with Hazel. I do love that Hazel and Augustus, that they went to Amsterdam, and I really liked that section of the book. Peter Van Houten, of course, was a douchebag, and I felt that I kind of wondered, would someone really be that cruel? But I mean, of course, you know, I could see the reasoning for it, and you sort of suspected that from the outset, I guess. But God, what a dick. I really liked, though, that they got to spend time in Amsterdam, because it was nice to be seeing them in that environment on their little holiday, and to see a different side of Amsterdam also was really pleasant, and it was just very calm and soothing, and I thought, I want to go to Amsterdam. And I liked their time together during that section. One thing I have to say is that my favourite character from this book was Hazel's mum. I had a real affection for Hazel's mum. Right from the outset I thought, I really like you, because in some way she reminded me of my own mum. And how, and again, I'm not making comparisons, but how my own mum has tried to cope with my illnesses over the years, and things getting progressively worse and more illnesses coming into play and stuff. And Hazel's mum just very much harked back to, you know, my feelings of affection for my own mother. And there was a passage, I did cry in this book, but I only properly cried in one section, and it actually had nothing to do with Augustus and Hazel, and that probably sounds horrible. I got teary in other parts of the book. I certainly got teary, but the one time I had to put the book down because I was crying so much was actually a bit where Hazel says to her parents, "I'm a grenade, you need to stay away from me because at some point I'm gonna, it's a ticking clock, I'm gonna explode and I'm gonna hurt you." And then her dad says this to her later: you're not a grenade, not to us. Thinking about you dying makes us sad, Hazel, but you're not a grenade. You're amazing. You can't know, sweetie, because you've never had a baby become a brilliant reader with a side interest in horrible television shows. But the joy you bring us is so much greater than the sadness we feel about your illness. And that was so similar to things my parents have said to me over the years that that broke me, and I had to put the book down and cry. I liked that there was like the inclusion of things like text messages and emails and that, and I felt that it worked, and I don't think it was like a forced inclusion of the modern age or anything. I think it was effective. I especially like the text that Augustus and Hazel send one another when they're like reading one another's books. I thought that was good. One thing I will say about the like modern age thing, that commentary going in there, I thought it was very effective when Hazel was, I don't think this is a spoiler. Anyway, when she goes on a certain someone's Facebook page after they've passed away, and is reading messages that friends are still leaving on the Facebook page, and also people that are just acquaintances and don't really know this person, didn't really know this person, and she's like looking at the sentimental messages they're leaving behind, and that really rang true with me because I've seen like young people especially who have passed away, and it's like family members. You don't want to sever that connection that you would feel in taking up, like you don't want to delete the Facebook page, you don't want to delete their name in your phone, that sort of thing. And the idea for someone who's grieving, like a friend or a family member, to write something on that page just to feel like you still have that connection to them, I thought that was, I really like that John Green put that in because that's something I've noticed myself. Yeah, I thought that was really touching. It's a simple way of looking at how people can cope with grief with the kind of technology we have today. I don't know, I just thought it was interesting. I like that it was included. And of course the ending is very sad and bittersweet, and it does sort of leave you with that uneasy feeling because cancer is cancer for the most part, and if you're told that it's terminal, then it's going to be terminal, and you're kind of like but I think I was expecting a little more perhaps from the ending, like not necessarily more. I just thought it might I thought it might have ended with a slightly different, I can't remember exactly what I thought was going to happen, but it wasn't what happened, is what I will say. And not in terms of the wider scale of the plot. There was just something simple that I thought was going to come into play right at the end, and then it didn't. It was still really nice how it ended, how it wrapped up on that bittersweet feeling. But yeah, I think I remember what I was expecting now. Yeah, I'm not really making sense. But anyway, it's such a friggin' difficult book to try and review. And even now I feel like I'm gonna get a million dislikes on this bloody video. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now. So I think I will give the book 4 stars out of 5. And I do think it's very beautiful in its own right, and I'm grateful, as I'm sure everybody is, to John Green for writing this book, and I'm sure that Esther would have loved it, and yeah, would have found it very moving and very funny, because there's lots of laughs to be had. Yeah, and just John Green writes beautifully. So, that's Fault in Our Stars.